Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Are you an author, speaker, coach, or entrepreneur building a brand in today's very crowded marketplace? How do you stand out? Join me on September 27th and share 97 minutes of your time for just $97 and learn how to empower your brand message and shine as a guest on podcasts. iHeart's doing it. Spotify's doing it. You should do it too. Join me and spend 97 minutes of your time for just $97. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Lisa Norman. Lisa is a children's author who writes books on quite specific topics that at first glance one might think, why or how are you writing books on these topics that most adults have a difficult time grasping? She's also a doctor of medicine, and last but certainly not least, she is a mother of four. Welcome, Lisa. I am so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure and my honor. So with that being said, let's jump right in. I'm curious, how long have you been an author, and was writing something that was always part of who you are, or is this a fairly new endeavor for you?
So this is basically a new endeavor for me, but I've wanted to write children's books since I was a little girl. Officially, I started in 2020, but it's been something that I've always wanted to do. And as a young girl, I taught myself how to read based on Dr. Seuss books. I loved the rhythm. I loved the writing of the books. And my grandmother almost lived in my backyard in an apartment complex. And so one of my favorite things to do was to make my own version of Dr. Seuss books. And I used four things. I used construction paper, hole puncher, yarn, and markers. And I would make all of these rhyming books, and I would walk through the woods to my grandmother's apartment and read those books to her and to her friends. Sometimes they would even make books for me. But we had so much fun laughing at all the rhymes. And even back then, I always said I wanted to be a writer one day. And so my grandmother lived to be 96 years old. Wow. And at the end of her life, she knew my life was very busy practicing medicine and being a mother, but she reminded me that I needed to write those children's books one day. And so that's what I did in 2020.
Beautiful. So Dr. Seuss and Grandma were the inspiration behind writing children's books. That's funny that you wanted to write children's books specifically as a writer when you were a kid and thinking about writing children's books. So I think that's amazing that you actually followed through and did it. So I guess during COVID, I'm assuming, is when you started writing?
Yes.
Excellent.
That is when I started writing. The surgery slowed down at the hospital and the volume was low in our department, and my kids were in online school. And so I took about 6 weeks off, and I found myself in a quiet kitchen, which doesn't happen very often in a house with four
with
children.
Four kids. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I decided it was my time to write.
Amazing. I love it. So let's talk. I'd love to talk a little bit about your life as a doctor, and how long you've been a doctor. What inspired you to get into medicine in the first place? Well, you're still practicing, right? So how have things progressed for you in your career there? And then also keeping with the writing and being a mother of four.
Oh, I'll try my best to answer all of that. Well, I have always been a person with many interests. And so deciding on a career path was hard for me because there were so many things I wanted to learn about. And one thing I was really interested in as a teenager was Spanish. I've always had a fascination and interest with Hispanic cultures. So I applied through a program to be an exchange student in South America. And I lived with a family in Argentina. And they had 5 children, 4 boys and a girl. And the girl was my age. So we shared a room and went to school together each day. And as you probably know, the Hispanic culture is different than our culture, and they really value time around the table. And we spent a lot of time having long lunches. Lunch is their main meal of the day. The whole town shuts down. Kids come home from school for lunch. Stores close, so everybody can go home for lunch. Accompanied him to see patients, and he was truly my first introduction to medicine. But then I came home, I finished high school, I went to college at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, and I was a double major in Spanish and speech communications. And I lived abroad again in Salamanca, Spain, and that was another wonderful, eye-opening experience. I dipped my toes in business and broadcast journalism, and it really wasn't until my senior year where I started volunteering at Bowman Grace Hospital here in Winston-Salem. And I really discovered a passion for medicine, and I really felt like that was what I wanted to do. So even though my parents weren't thrilled at the end of college that I didn't have the major that I needed to go to medical school, I then spent the next year and a half taking all of the science courses that are prerequisites to apply to medical school. And I did that and went to Emory University School of Medicine. And after I graduated, I returned back to Wake Forest and did a 1-year residency program. I did like an internship in internal medicine, followed by 4 years of pathology.
Wow.
And I married the love of my life, who I met at Wake Forest undergrad. And we have 4 children. We have 2 girls and 2 boys, all ages. We have 1 in elementary school, 1 in middle school, 1 in high school, and 1 in college. So life got really busy and very full, but I always had something in me that wanted to write children's books. So when the COVID-19 pandemic happened and surgery slowed down at our hospital, I took some time off of work and I was at home, and I was glad to be home during that time and glad to be here with my family because it was such an uncertain time. And the first book I wrote about was hope, which was a feeling needed during that time for our world.
For sure. Yeah.
But during that time, I wrote hope and love and respect and joy. And those were my very first books. And I asked a dear friend who was an artist to be my illustrator for those 4 books. And she actually hand painted each page and then we had it scanned in. So I have all of these beautiful works of art in my home that reflect all of her illustrations.
Amazing. Wow, that is a hell of a lot of school and then transition into writing. I mean, just phenomenal. Do you still have that love for your career as a doctor, or has writing kind of taken over that?
I definitely still have that love and passion for medicine, and I love doing both. I love being a mom. I love working at the hospital, and I love writing books. And my weeks are really divided into 2. I work part-time as a doctor. So the first half of my week, I'm at the hospital.
Yeah.
And the other half of my week, I'm writing or I'm meeting with my publishing team. And lately, I've been traveling to a lot of elementary schools and preschools and talking to kids about core values and getting to share my books.
That is amazing. So the book tours are kind of like you go into schools and talk to kids about the subject matter and things like that and share your books, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing that you get to do that, though. You get to still work as a doctor, what you love to do, and then also that other thing, that other part of your life, that other Lisa, you get to focus on that as well. You get to have your cake and eat it too, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the best of all worlds. It really is.
Amazing. I love that. Well, what drives, motivates, and inspires you to keep going and excelling at all that you do, Lisa?
Well, first I would say love. the love that I have for my family is the most powerful motivational factor in my life. In fact, that's why I really wanted to write the books to begin with, because I wanted to create something meaningful that I could pass down to my kids, that they could share with their kids, and it would hopefully connect generations in our family one day. And the other thing is the power of story, because as stories heal, stories comfort, stories ignite, and they transform people. And when people are reading your story, you have their full attention, and your message or mission is being heard. And one of the greatest things for me about publishing a book is being able to connect with people on their life journey.
And to have that legacy, like you said, leaving that legacy for your kids and for other kids who are reading your books. Do you have any desire to write any other topics or subject matter than children's books? Or is it always your focus going to be children's books, do you think?
Right now, my focus is children's books, just because I enjoy that. I love creating the rhythm and the rhyme of the book. And I just love kids. And our kids are growing up in such a different world today. And I think trying to teach them about things that really matter and are important is one of my main missions.
So what was the inspiration behind particularly focusing on these themes like hope, love, respect, joy, grief, and gratitude?
Well, there are two big reasons, and they're simple. One, I love kids and I love writing. And I wanted to create these books to promote a positive message that would connect people through the joy of slowing down and reading, and would inspire kids and adults alike. And I believe that the world is different today than when we were growing up, Brad.
For sure.
It's more important than ever for us to build a strong foundation of positive core values that kids will learn and take to heart for life. And core values are things that we care about deeply. They're things that are important to us and help us to make good decisions. And kids are just exposed to so many outside influences in today's world with the news and with social media. And they wake up to all of these stories that show lack of hope and lack of love and lack of respect. So the values that I have found as a mother, as a friend, as a doctor, as an author are really the values of hope and love and respect and joy. And those things are not going to be found on social media.
No, or in the media, period. It's always bad news upon bad news. There's no positivity out there in the news.
I know, you're right. And when I go to schools, I always tell kids that values are learned and character is developed through human interactions, face-to-face conversations. Values are not learned when we're playing video games or on our iPhones. And so talking to kids and encouraging them to talk to people that they love, their teachers, their parents, their friends, about their values and why they share those values and how they use them to make important life decisions is really important. And even though the world has changed, our values don't have to change. And practicing values will help kids prepare for the future.
Absolutely. I love that. Can you share a personal experience or moment that sparked your passion for writing the books that address these particular themes for young readers?
One of my most profound influences for my topics comes from my medical training, where I saw values at work every day with patients. And as a doctor of medicine, I realized the power of hope and how to provide hope to the best of my ability. Hope is one of the most powerful motivational factors that we have. And I work in an industry where we are often the last source of hope for people. And not only can we carry hope in our heart in life, but we can also give hope to other people. And in terms of love, I learned to not just love what I did, but I learned to love the people that sat before me and trusted me with major life decisions. And in terms of respect, as a doctor, you have to respect every patient that walks through your door. And one of the things that my grandfather used to always say that I remember is that every man puts his pants on the same way.
Yes.
We're all equal. Every human being, no matter how different they may be from you, deserves to be treated with love and respect and kindness. And as a doctor, I can tell you, you deal with a lot of very serious situations. And so being able to provide a bit of joy and levity to people is also really important. But when I look back on all of my years in medicine, no matter what the outcome, I think bringing hope and love and respect and joy to patients is as important as getting the diagnosis right.
Yeah, for sure. My wife works in the hospital industry. She oversees about 120 staff that work in the emergency room across 3 different hospitals. And she says people come in there and some of them are very, what's the word? I don't want to use the word angry, but you know, they're dealing with a lot because they're coming in, they don't want to be there. They have to be there in these situations. And so that comes out sometimes in snappiness or anger or frustration. And she says, we just have to show these people compassion because they don't want to be there. We have to be kind to them because you could change the trajectory of their day by being kind to someone and showing them support because they're there because they're sick or they have an illness that they've got to deal with. And again, they just don't want to be there. So if we show our fellow humans kindness and love and support and all, it's what we're here to do as human beings. It's part of our job.
It can be life-changing.
It can. They just, I can totally relate. I mean, there's no reason to be bitchy or pissy with someone and yell at them, or because my wife has told me people have yelled at her and all these things, but she said, you have to understand these people don't want to be here. You have to be kind to them. Even though they're being shitty, some of them with you, you have to be kind. You have to show them kindness. And I love what you said about what your grandfather said, we are all the same. We all put on our pants the same way, one leg at a time. I will never forget, a friend of mine worked in the coroner's office here in Toronto, and at the time they were looking for another photographer to work in the coroner's office. The photographer that worked there was leaving. So he managed to get me in to do a job shadow, to shadow the photographer. And I will never, ever forget it. I witnessed an autopsy from start to finish. There were eight autopsies being done that day, and I got to witness one from start to finish. And it was one of the most profound moments in my life, because after I left for the day and I sat and digested and thought about what I'd witnessed and what I'd seen that day, the most important thing that stood out was we are all the same. It doesn't matter what color, what race, what religion, none of that matters, because we all come into this world the same way, and we all leave the same way. Why is there so much strife and hate and anger in this world? We all bleed the same color blood. And I know it sounds silly to some people, but why can't we just get along? It's simple. It's not hard to be kind to other people. It's not hard. But that experience changed my life. It was unbelievable to witness something like that. And it just really made me think that all of this bullshit in the world, for what?
Right.
It's unbelievable.
We're all created and made the same way.
Yes.
And it gives you a newfound appreciation for the body and anatomy and just what a life is.
Yeah, absolutely. It changed my life. It was incredible. So thank you for sharing that. I love that you brought up the fact that your grandfather said that, because it's true. We all put on our pants the same way. It's one leg at a time, and that's it. There's no reason, there's no need for all this strife and whatnot in the world. Let's just all get along. Let's all love each other. Let's all support each other. Yeah. And it may sound airy-fairy to some, or woo, or whatever you want to call it, but it's the truth when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. That's why I wrote my respect book, because if we could just all appreciate the differences between people, and that's how we learn and grow. The world would be boring if everybody was the same.
Absolutely. Now, children's literature often simplifies complex emotions for young readers. So how do you approach writing about these topics that you write about, like grief, gratitude, in a way that is accessible and meaningful for children?
Well, the Ellie Ask book series is about a 5-year-old girl named Ellie and the questions that she asks. So she asks her parents one question in each book, and each book is devoted to exploring one core value at a time. And she has her adorable dog, Rose, with her, who's her constant companion and with her in all of the pages. But as a writer, I think especially as a children's book writer, one of the most important things to do is to make your teaching points relevant to a child's world so that they can understand the message that you want to convey. And for the book Grief, I wanted kids to understand the many different feelings that are associated with such a strong, powerful emotion. Everyone experiences grief in a different way, and it lasts for a different length of time, depending on your situation. And while the topic is very sad and heavy, obviously, the advice that I offer in my grief book makes the topic as uplifting as possible, just because kids need to learn how to cope with loss and eventually put their best foot forward. And this book encourages them on how to do it. So her loving family really helps her through a difficult time period. They encourage her to work through her feelings and then ensure her that it's okay to keep enjoying life after that. And with my gratitude book, I wanted to come up with a story that would resonate with kids. And so with that book, I used a creative way based on one of Ellie's talents to teach her a lesson about how to be thankful. And so in that book, it begins with Ellie and her friends playing in her favorite magnolia tree that's in her yard and having a great time on the weekend. And then suddenly it starts pouring down rain. And so everybody has to go back to their house, and she returns to her home, and she's so frustrated and mad that the play date is over, and she starts pouting and gets in a really bad mood. And that's when her mom decides this is the perfect time to talk to her about gratitude and focus on the things that you have, not the things that you don't have. And so she uses one of Ellie's talents, which Ellie loves art. And she said, hey, let's play a game. Let's think about one thing you're really thankful for. And why don't you paint this stone? And so Ellie paints a stone with her dog, Rose, because she's thankful for her dog. And so then after she paints that and is looking at the stone, she starts looking out the window and she sees beautiful flowers. And she says, well, hey, the rain actually is helpful. It makes beautiful flowers grow. So then she paints another stone, her second stone, about nature and how she's appreciative for nature. And then she goes to school on that Monday and realizes she's really thankful for her teacher. And so she paints a school bus on another stone. And so the book is really a series of her discovering all the good in her life and all the things that she's thankful for. So at the end of the book, she's created a colorful path of stones from the magnolia tree back to her house. And she automatically feels grateful. She doesn't have to paint stones anymore because she starts to begin to feel gratitude all on her own. And so I hope that story would resonate with kids on different ways to think about your life and all the good things that are already there.
I love that. And these topics grief and gratitude, these are topics that kids are going to encounter in their lives, whether they're young. They may encounter them at a young age, and of course they're going to encounter them in their later years. So I think it's so amazing the way that you instill these values through your writing into these kids so that they can learn from a young age. I think it's brilliant. Absolutely amazing. And so as I mentioned off the top, most adults have trouble dealing with some of these themes that you explore in your books. They explore themes of empathy and understanding, but how do you believe children's literature can foster empathy and promote understanding among young readers?
Well, reading books can help children develop empathy by exposing them to different perspectives, different cultures, and different experiences. And by reading about characters that are different from themselves, children learn to understand and relate to other people that are different from them. And one of the greatest things about children's books is that they help kids to try on different feelings and try on different situations. And as you're reading a book, you get to see, are these characters cooperating or not? Are they kind to each other or not? How are they working through problems? And kids may or may not see themselves through the characters, but they're learning about people that are different from them. And I think ultimately it teaches kids how to respect people that from different backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you decided to write about these topics in particular for children, did you experience any kind of resistance in your conversations, if you had them, or since you've written them, have they been positively embraced by everyone? Because again, some parents may not see these topics as things that kids should learn about at these young ages. I mean, I know for me personally, I think it's amazing because I think it's great that you're writing on these subjects and themes because, as I said, I believe that it's needed. And the earlier we start talking about these things, I truly believe that it's better. The kids are better off for it because it can only lead to more emotionally in touch teens and adults. So I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. But did you face any resistance from parents or people in conversations that you had when you started talking about these are the themes I'm going to write about for kids?
I really haven't faced any resistance. I feel like people have embraced these books so positively, and I'm so grateful for all the family and friends and new friends that I've met in the community that have supported the books. I feel like since we're living in such a crazy world right now, the world really hungers for a positive message. And people want to hear all the good stuff and the things that really matter at the end of the day. And even though we can't change the world that we are living in, we can give our kids the tools to survive the fight. And that starts with instilling these strong core values from an early age on. And that's what I'm doing when I'm going to schools now. And I'm able to really talk to kids about these values and why they're important and share my books. And as you said, it's important to start early because before you know it, kids are going to be teenagers and grow up. And one of my main goals as a parent is I want my kids to be kind, respectful people. I want them to want to make the world a better place, to put other people's needs before their own, to be forgiving and not hold grudges, and to think before they act or speak. And I guess, really want them to hopefully one day share their values with the world in order to make it a better place.
I love it. That's amazing. I was curious about that because you know how some people can be when it comes to their kids. Oh, we shouldn't be talking about these things with our kids and they're too young to understand. But again, it's written in a manner or style that kids can understand. So how have the kids received the books?
I think the kids are so wonderful and so they've been so complimentary. I think they've received them well. Each time I go to a school and talk, I'm always amazed at the questions that they ask. They're much deeper thinkers than people give them credit for. And,
for sure, because they don't have these preconceived notions in their head about things. They just speak. They just ask, and they're very curious.
They are. And I have seen that at work in the schools that I've traveled to, and it's really been a joy to be a part of that.
I love it. Can you discuss the role of storytelling in terms of offering solace, inspiration, and reassurance to young readers facing adversity or different circumstances?
Well, when we face life storms, both literal or metaphorical, storytelling is a powerful tool for resilience and for healing. And when someone shares a difficult story, it can not only heal them, but it can heal other people who have faced challenges in life. So I really think personal healing stories can serve as a blueprint for others that are navigating through storms in life. And storytelling recognizes the humanity in all of us. It helps break down barriers and promotes a sense of belonging and connection. And at the end of the day, I think it really facilitates human connection and helps people heal.
Yeah, writing, art is incredibly healing. All forms, whether it be music, painting, writing, all of these things, books, literature, all of these things, they promote healing. And it's much needed in this world. As you said, in the space that we're currently in today, all of these things are much needed. And to get kids involved in art, I think is so important, whether it be, like I said, writing, literature, music, painting, drawing, all of these things, it's needed. And we need more of that in the school systems, I believe.
I agree.
So I love that you're going around to schools and doing these book tours and sharing. Now, when you do these, when you go into schools, do you sit in groups in classrooms and read the books to the kids? Is that like, how does that work for you?
I have done that a few times, but generally I go to the media center or where their theater area is. Yep. And generally I speak to multiple grades at a time. Okay. In fact, I'm going tomorrow to Georgia, to my hometown, and I'm speaking at an elementary school where I went to.
Oh, wow.
School. So I'm speaking to all the kindergartners, all the first graders, all the second graders. And so it's really going to be surreal getting to walk those halls that I haven't been in so many years.
How incredible is that for you?
So yes, it's going to be so much fun. I've really been looking forward to it.
You must be so excited to be able to do that.
I am.
Get back to your community where you grew up.
Absolutely.
Like, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
What is the age range and focus of your book? Like for kindergartners to grade 3s to grade 4s, mm-hmm. Like what is the age range for that, for your books?
Well, I speak to preschoolers through 3rd grade. So I would say the books are great for a newborn. They make a great baby gift, but newborn through age 8.
Okay. Excellent. Children's literature has the power to amplify children's voices and perspectives. So how do you ensure that your books empower children to express themselves authentically and advocate for what matters to them?
Reading, when you read, you learn and you grow. And reading not only improves a child's vocabulary, but it really helps enhance their communication skills too. And my books on core values encourage kids to be the very best version of themselves. They focus not just on hope and love and respect and joy and gratitude, but they also focus on kindness and honesty and patience and self-control and among other virtues. But after reading them, my hope is that kids will be inspired to go out and do good in the world and to not only just love other people, but learn to love themselves and to not just respect other people, but to also respect themselves and to share their joy with the world and all of their talents and shift through gratitude, really shift their focus from inward to outward. And so when they're out there in the world making good choices and showing good behavior, their parents and their teachers are going to recognize that and they will get praise for that. And I think those sorts of things make a child feel good and empowered.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you mentioned about the fact that the kids need to love themselves. That's where everything starts, is with self. We are the foundation for it. And I believe, as with what we discussed about these topics that you write about in your books for kids, if we instill these values of loving themselves and confidence in themselves from a very young age, they just grow up not knowing any different. It is bred into them. It becomes part of who they are. It becomes part of their DNA, and they just don't know any different. And that's important. That's part of our job as parents, is to do that for our kids so that they grow up not knowing any different and they believe in themselves and they love themselves, because everything starts here at home with us.
Absolutely.
It's very important. Now, grief is a universal experience. We all go through it at some point in our lives, and there's many different versions of grief. Yet discussing it with children can be challenging. How do you approach writing about grief and loss for young audiences in a sensitive and compassionate manner?
Well, when I first started writing, I originally planned just to write the first 4 books on hope and love, respect and joy. And those books are all happy and very uplifting. But as there's the other side of life, which is grief, and unexpected things happen. And we all have to journey through difficult seasons. And I feel like it's important for kids to learn how to cope with loss. So when I finished the first 4 books, we unexpectedly lost a very important family member, and that was my mother-in-law. And she was grandmother extraordinaire to my kids, and truly one of the most loving, engaging, smart, funny, caring women I will ever know. And all of us will be continually inspired by her for the rest of our lives, for sure. But I watched my kids go through the grieving process. And it was at that moment that I knew that I wanted my books to embrace life full circle. So grief is a part of life, and it's something that we all need to learn how to process and deal with. And so, like I said earlier, even though it's a very heavy, sad topic, the advice that I offer is I try to make it as uplifting as I possibly can, even though it's very sad, because kids do have to find their best path forward.
Yeah.
But while we're still processing the pain of losing such a special member in our family, one of the ways that we have learned to cope is through gratitude and really humble, thankful reflection of the light that she put out in our world and actually will always put out in our world. And we will never forget that. And so by living in a grateful place, that's helped us to cope. And so that's why I wrote the book Gratitude After Grief, and that completed the Ellie Asks series.
And so there's 6 books in the series. So what's next for the writing of children's books? Do you have any ideas? Are you working on stuff already, if I can ask?
Yes, absolutely. That is a great question, because I just submitted my next book to publication yesterday. No joke.
Congratulations.
My oldest daughter is named Ellie. So that series, I used her name. And my second child is Jack. And so the book that I'll be launching in the next week is called Jack's Divine Fruit. And it is about a little boy named Jack. And it's based on a passage in Galatians about the fruit of the Spirit, about love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. And so it's about a little boy who talks about fruit that he likes to eat, and it's paralleled to one of the fruits of the Spirit.
Ah, lovely. Is this going to be the second series then, the Jack series?
I'm not sure that it's going to be a series. It may be a standalone book. And then I have another one that is being illustrated now. See, once you start it's hard to stop writing.
Yeah.
So I have another one that's being illustrated now, and I'm using my third child, who's Hamilton. So Hamilton's going to be the main character in that book.
Okay. And what's that one about, if I can ask?
That one is actually about a teddy bear picnic.
Okay.
And it's a special event that our family has attended basically all the years that my kids have been growing up over July 4th.
Okay.
And so it's a feel-good book.
And your fourth child, is there going to be a book with their fourth
child?
Yes,
Mary Claire is my fourth child, and I am still trying to decide exactly what I'm going to do for her. I have some ideas, but I've had a little bit of creative block with that one. So I'm going to wait on that one to be revealed.
Excellent. I love it. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Can you discuss the impact of practicing gratitude and finding joy in everyday experiences on children's overall happiness and sense of fulfillment?
Well, gratitude is being thankful for all that you have: family, friends, food, shelter, clothing, all of those things we should never take for granted. And gratitude is really reflecting on all the blessings in our lives, no matter how big or how small, and really focusing on all that we have and not what we don't have. And I think gratitude is really the skill for happiness in life. It brings joy to our lives and really awakens joy. And my book on joy teaches kids that all kids have something unique and valuable to share with the world, and about sharing that joy with the world, because everybody has different abilities and talents, and we're all here to support each other. And joy is a choice. It is a habit of the heart, and it's something that we can choose to spread every day. And I feel like gratitude and joy both are so important on the emotional well-being of a child. And the two together are really key components to happiness in life.
Absolutely. I love it. Now, in what ways has writing children's books about complex emotions and life experiences contributed to your own personal growth and self-discovery?
My inspiration for my books has really come from a collection of so many different life experiences that have shaped the person that I am today. And as I mentioned, I've lived abroad twice in Argentina and Spain, and those have been such eye-opening experiences in my life. They make you realize what a little speck we are here on the planet. And they help you appreciate different people that have live a different way of life than you do. And I feel like that's taught me a lot about respect. Now, becoming a mother has also been one of the most profound experiences of my life. And that has been a revelation emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because it teaches you so much about hope and about love. And the love that we have for our kids, I think, helps us understand the kind of love that God has for all of us, and the way that we just delight in every little milestone that as they progress throughout their life. Every little detail of their life is so important. And I also think, though, being a doctor has given me a wonderful perspective on life, because it has taught me about the things that really matter. And I don't sweat the small stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter. And the years in my medical training, I think, really seeing patients every day taught me the value of every day and not taking anything for granted, because you never know, life can change at the drop of a hat, and growing old is not a given.
No.
And so in my job as a surgical pathologist, we diagnose cancer and look at glass slides in order to figure out what disease process a person has. And I can't help but every time I'm look at a new case, as I think about that person behind the glass slide and how that diagnosis is going to change their life. Our health is one of life's greatest blessings. I feel like if you have your health, you can really do anything. And I think to know that and recognize that is a blessing.
Yeah, our health is our wealth. My grandfather always used to say to me, he said, I don't care. All the money in the world doesn't matter if I don't have my health. That's what's most important, is having your health, because what good is that money if you're not healthy enough to enjoy it, to share it, to spread the wealth with your family and and your friends and all these things. If you don't have your health, it's nothing. It doesn't matter.
You're absolutely right. My parents and I talk about that a lot. Just getting to enjoy just an ordinary day is such a blessing.
For sure. And we have to be grateful for each of those days that we get and practice that gratitude, and wake up every morning and practice the gratitude. Be thankful that you woke up. My dad always used to say, I'm grateful, or I'm thankful that I woke up on the green side of the grass today. That's a gift, right? It is.
It is.
What excites and inspires you the most about writing and being an author?
The way that it all comes together. I love every step of the process, but there's something really magical about the end, because how long it took, and you watched your idea all of a sudden transform into holding something tangible in your hand. And it's really a beautiful transformational process. And also, I think when someone comes up to you and tells you that they've read your book and that they enjoyed your book, is just the best feeling in the whole world, because it means you had their attention And hopefully the message that you wanted to convey was heard.
Yeah. You made an impact on someone's
Yeah.
life. That's a beautiful gift to have impact in the world and to give back like that. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out as a writer?
Well, not to compare yourself to other people, but to get inspired by other people. We're all unique, and we want to reflect that uniqueness in what we write. And also that there are really no such thing as failures, because failure is a part of life's journey. It's how we grow, how we learn. And I think that's important to remember.
I love that you said all of that, because it's so true. Failure is part of life. And we need, again, this is another thing that I think we need to teach our kids, that failure is okay. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that you're failing, because you're going to learn. The only failure I think there is if you give up. That's failure to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pick yourself back up, as hard as it can be at times, dust yourself off and keep going. Try something different. This has taught you that, okay, this is not going to work for this particular thing. Let's come at it from a different angle. Let's try a different way of doing it. But as long as you keep going and keep trying, that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Now, you had mentioned that you're experiencing a creative block for the next
for
year.
Mary Claire, yeah.
Yes, for Mary Claire. So as a creative, we all experience creative blocks from time to time. So I'm curious, how do you deal with the creative blocks when you get them? What have you found helps the most when these blocks come up for you?
I don't get them often, but I feel like if I'm experiencing a block, it means that something needs to be revealed to me. And so I have to wait on the topic to be realized. And so I usually move on to another topic, because there's always something that I'm working on. And I keep a notebook with me everywhere I go. I take it and jot down ideas. And so I think the topic will eventually come to me. But it just takes patience.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. It's important. Like I said, creatives, we experience those blocks from time to time. And I just love hearing how different artists and different creatives deal with those when they come up. Now, I know with the books that you donate a portion of the proceeds from your book sales. Can you share a little bit about that and why you decided to start that initiative with these books?
Yeah, so I donate a portion of all the proceeds from the Eliasks book series to Brenner Children's Hospital here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I chose that because Wake Forest is really special to me. My dad went to Wake Forest. My husband and I met at Wake Forest, and I did my medical residency program there. And I'm actually the mother of a child who lives with a chronic disease that has required treatment in both the inpatient and outpatient settings for many years there. And so I've been able to really witness the care there firsthand. And I knew when I wrote these books that I wanted to give back in some way. And so given my love for Wake Forest, my love for kids, my love for medicine, and my firsthand experience as the mother of a child that's required care there, Brenner Children's Hospital was just the perfect fit.
I love it. Well, I think it's incredible that you do that. We need more of that in the world. I think that's part of why we're here, is to give back, whether that be financial, with time, it doesn't matter. As long as we're giving back in some way, shape, or form, that's what's important. And that's what matters. So I applaud what you're doing. I think it's incredible.
Thank you.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
Love is the super fuel behind everything I do. As love is the highest vibration in the world. And when we do things with the frequency of love, I think it increases our chance for success. But in addition to love, I think the energy and enthusiasm that I have, I think my perseverance and work ethic, motivation, compassion, I think all of those things lump together.
Yeah. Love it's John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They knew back then. Yeah. And as hippy dippy as it may sound to some, it's all we need. It really is that, as you said, it's the highest vibration on the planet. And if we can just learn to first love ourselves, but then to give that love to others, What a beautiful place the world would be if we all stepped into that vibration.
Yes.
Speaking of success, Lisa, how do you define that word? What does success mean to you?
To me, success is achieving your goals and visions, both personally and professionally, while maintaining balance in your life and really finding harmony in your life. It's knowing what you want and having the courage to follow your heart. And as a parent, I would say that success is seeing my kids happy and content and confident, on the right track, sharing core values with the world and trying to make the world a better place.
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after you learned it?
I would say gratitude. And before I learned the importance of gratitude, I was more self-centered. And after I learned, I feel like my life has been so much more fulfilling and happy. And the human mind naturally overemphasizes the negative. I remember reading somewhere that psychologists found that the loss of something is much more painful than the joy of gaining something. And that's why negative news travels so rapidly. That's why we can't help but stop and stare when two people are fighting, or why it's sometimes easier to relate to other people through complaining or gossiping about something rather than being thankful for it. And I truly believe that gratitude is the skill of happiness. It's the cure for this emotional vampire that lives in all of us. And it requires practice and effort and habit. But when you're thankful, your heart feels happy. That's what I tell kids. And I just think it's so important to live our life that way.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1000%, Lisa. What was a turning point in your life, and how did that turning point affect you?
Definitely, I would say motherhood, because it was such a transformational time. And it was challenging, but such a revelation in hope and love. And it was challenging emotionally and physically, but worth every bit of the effort, because being a mother changes everything, and your life is no longer your own. And all those things that you want to do, you can't do anymore because your priority is your child. And so it's all things, though, in life. There's a trade-off. But the joy that our kids give us is unlike any other love in the world. And it's given my life such purpose and fulfillment.
Beautiful. What would you say is one of your biggest failures, and what did you learn from it?
Well, this may sound a little crazy. It's very and trivial, and it happened so long ago. But I have a story from when I was 12 years old, and I grew up in this small town in Georgia. And one of the biggest things at that time for girls was cheerleading. And so at the end of 7th grade, you could try out for 8th grade cheerleading. And we all practiced that whole 7th grade year. And I remember older girls saying, "Oh, you're a shoo-in, you're going to be captain." And I never felt too confident, but I felt like I was good enough to make the team. Mm-hmm. And you know where this is going. And I did not make it. And at that time period in my life, it was crushing. It was so devastating not to get to be a part of a group that I so desperately wanted to be a part of, and watch them the next year come into school in their uniforms and cheering them on when they would do pep rallies and all of those things. But guess what? That's life. We don't always get what we want.
Yeah.
And it was a very good lesson. And so when I really reflect on my life now, though, that initial disappointment so many years ago was the catalyst for this newfound fierce determination that I would carry with me for really the rest of my life and everything that I've done. And the experience inspired me to work harder and to continue to practice. And then the next 4 years, I made the cheerleading team, and I was captain, I was co-captain, I had leadership positions, but I had such an appreciation for being there because I knew what it was like to not be there. And I came to this realization that whole experience happened for me, not to me.
Yes.
And I was really able to step outside of the situation and see the silver lining and realize what a mixed blessing it was, and pick up the pieces and try again, because that's what we have to do when we're passionate and we really want something to happen. And if it doesn't happen, you can still keep trying.
Absolutely.
And really discovering that experience was happening for me became an epiphany and really a catalyst for the power of my personal story.
I love it. So how long did it take you to get to that point to be able to, because that takes a lot of first self-awareness, strength, courage to do that, to be able to extract yourself from the situation and look at it from the outside and pull the silver line. Because I believe that every situation, no matter what it is that happens to us or happens for us, there is a silver lining. So how long did it take you to get to that point where you could do that, extract the lesson and look at it and see, you know what, this is happening for me, not to me?
I think it was an evolving realization over the next several years.
My dad always said to me, he says, what's meant for you will never go by you. And that always sticks with me. Every time something happens, like I applied for a TED Talk and I didn't get it. And I had his voice in my head saying, that stage is not meant for you. It's okay. Don't worry about it. There'll be another one. But it's not easy to get into that space. You really have to, it takes practice and it takes strength and persistence to get into that space where you can do that. Because there are going to be things that are, as you said, crushing for you, that you didn't get this or that this didn't happen. But you have to remember that it's okay. That place, that particular thing is not meant for you. There's something bigger coming down the road for you. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Rejection is always hard, but it helps you discover what you really are passionate for. And I believe that we're all meant to go down a certain path, and some doors open and some doors close.
That's right. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment is the strengthening of qualities and capabilities that already exist in a person. It's realizing your self-worth and your ability to make choices and decisions in life. And I think it also involves resilience and growing more confident in who you are and really giving yourself permission to be yourself. Because when you are yourself, you empower other people to feel comfortable, and then they feel like they can be themselves too. And living in today's age, women's empowerment has just been fascinating to watch, because that's now emerged as a major global movement and has been groundbreaking in so many ways, and hopefully will continue to do so.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to jump into the little rapid fire section here. So the next grouping of questions just be 2, 3, 4 word answer type thing. Okay.
Okay.
What is one of your favorite quotes?
Maya Angelou is one of my very favorite poets and authors, and she has a quote that always resonates with me. And she said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget the way that you make them feel."
Yeah, I love that quote. If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
To accept people as they are and for who they are, even though their values and traditions may be different than yours. Respect.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
World peace.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Grateful.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My attitude toward life.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Healthy eating, exercise, and dance.
That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I threw in a bonus question here that you did not see. This is something new that I'm trying with my guests, just to throw in a question, just to shake things up a little bit. Lisa, if you could take one feeling or one belief and bottle it and give it to people, what would that be?
Love. Because I think that is why we are meant to be here in this world. We are meant to share love. We're meant to receive love and give love. And the one thing about love, though, is that it can't be contained. So I don't know if you can put it in a bottle.
Love it. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
Well, you've asked me lots of good questions. Maybe if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
What would you want to be remembered for?
I think just to be able to have a positive impact on the life of other people. And that can be achieved by being kind and compassionate. A lot of the things we've already talked about today, and just whether it's acts of service or creating meaningful work or just being a good friend or family member.
Beautiful. What is your why?
Love is my why. Love is the super fuel behind everything that I do. It keeps me going. It inspires me. And I believe it's why we're here in this world, is to share and give love to other people and lift others up. And I also feel like my why at this point in my life is to spread the message of these core values. And it feels like my mission in order to try to make the world a better place. One thing that I learned at Wake Forest was they have a motto that you always see when you read about the university, and it's Pro Humanitate, which is for humanity. And that basically just means sharing your knowledge and your talents and your ideas to try to better the lives of other people. So I've tried to really live by that motto.
Love it. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Brad, there's so many amazing women in the world. That's such a tough question. But I think I would choose Mary Magdalene. And she was as a friend, a follower, and essentially a disciple of Jesus. And she was someone who witnessed the crucifixion, the burial, and was reportedly the first person to witness the resurrection. And she went from being the sinner redeemed to a sorrowful woman whose sorrow was then transformed into joy. And for me, she's a symbol of hope. She represents the transcendent power of grace and the light of the redemption. And when you think about the Bible, it was written by many men. It wasn't written by women. Yeah. And so for a woman to be mentioned so many times, she must have been an important and influential person way back when. And so I think it would be fascinating to get to sit down with her.
Yeah. Excellent. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
It would be to enjoy every stage of life. I have worked in the medical field for so long, and I feel like during my training, I sort of went from one goal to the next. And I think it's so important to really find time to sit back and relax and enjoy throughout all stages of life. I had an aunt when I was growing up that I was very close to, and she had 2 boys and always wanted a girl. So my mom would send me up to Wilmington, Delaware for 2 weeks every summer. And I looked forward to it every year. And my aunt was so much fun. She was brilliant. She was an English teacher, and she was one of the most loving, wonderful people. And we had such a great time together. And she always wore this little pinky ring. It was nothing fancy. It was just this little gold ring with this tiny little diamond. And on my 16th birthday, I went to see her, and she knew that I collected these little Limoges boxes that often have a special painting on them or a little message. And this little box said, "You're only here for a short visit, ... And then you opened it up and it said, "So don't hurry, don't worry, and make sure to take time to smell the flowers along the way." And in that box was a little pinky ring, just like hers, that she wanted me to have. And I still keep that box by my bed. And it's a constant reminder of living in the present moment and enjoying everything that's right in front of you that day.
What a beautiful gift from your aunt.
Oh, she was wonderful.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like a beautiful soul. Lastly, Lisa, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
When I was younger, I thought that the things that were most important were the things that you could see. And now that I'm older, I know that the only things that really matter are the things that we can't see. Our love for each other, our faith, knowing our inner purpose, and being comfortable with who we are. Love is the greatest virtue of all, and it is the catalyst for change in the world. And if we could just accept each other without discrimination based on beliefs and differences, I think there would be so much more harmony in the world today. I think that we are all connected together by the grace of God, and we have one life and one chance to make it count. And so our faith demands that we do whatever we can, wherever we are, whenever we can, and for as long as we can, to try to make the world a better place, so that at the end of our life, we can look back and know that the world is a little bit better off, one person at a time.
Beautifully said. I love it. What an amazing way to end the interview. Lisa, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today, sharing a little bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you're putting out into the world through all the amazing work you're doing. I appreciate you. I am grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community and to be able to call you a friend. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Brad, so much for having me. I've enjoyed talking to you, and thank you for all that you do to put light out in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This conversation has been amazing. I am so grateful. So thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Welsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Lisa Norman. She's a children's author, a doctor of medicine, and last but certainly not least, a mother of 4. Thank you so much, Lisa. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Same to you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.